And so my kids said, well, you know, we have to memorize facts, we need to know content, we've got to be able to tell what a metaphor is and all of this. And they said, well, why couldn't we show it in a lot of different ways? Well, that's exactly what happens here. How many of you guys have played Angry Birds? Yeah? So you know that in Angry Birds, you can come through and there's lots of different pathways to clear this screen to get on the next one. And now we have beach Angry Birds and, you know, everything Angry Birds. I mean, there's always something. There was a Christmas one too. But you don't necessarily have to clear all 3 stars in order to go on to the next level. So what if we thought about our standard as being that game board? And each one of those boxes being one of our outcomes. And instead of trying to methodically go step by step all the time, to allow our students to use primary sources and technology and higher level thinking skills and application in the classroom to pick and choose and move through this maze to meet their engagement needs, to meet their skill base, and to get them through that playboard, which then meets that standard. It's a little bit different way of thinking. In fact, one of them, we were talking about this, you know, lovely, when you always have your classroom and you're right in the middle of something and who walks in but your administrator with 5 guests. And this happened because we were looking at Angry Birds off of my little iPad and it's up on the screen and in walks the superintendent. That went over ever so well. Now I'm lucky because our superintendent in Adams 12 is a pretty good thinker and Chris Godowski's really great. And he looks at it and he says, well, you want to explain that one? And I said, well, I'm not going to explain it. Let's have the kids explain it. And so one of my students stood up and said, you know, Mr. Godowski, we have to learn all this stuff, but we'd rather learn it that way. Well, we know that. We know that kids are engaged in games. We know that this keeps their attention. But then he said, well, give me the value of that, because for me, that's a game. They said, oh, it's not about the game. It's about the fact that you give us multiple tries to learn something before you tell us we don't know it. Wow. Okay, out of the mouth of a 7-year-old.